This girl who looks harmless and obedient is actually the deadliest hunter on the dark web. Anyone who dares provoke her ends up either losing limbs or getting buried on the spot. But in this mission, after eliminating her enemies and retrieving the target backpack, she shockingly discovered her own father inside, who was also an assassin. If not for the tattoo on his arm, she wouldn't have recognized that it was her father. Perhaps it was the unique rationality of a killer, but Jagyong's heart didn't stir much because she knew that sooner or later, this was bound to happen in their line of work. Although her father was gone, Jagyong still kept the promise she made to him, preparing to retire from this bloody path. But at that moment, an uninvited guest appeared, Mo-young, who claimed that a Swedish safe was about to leave South Korea, and he needed Jagyong to intercept it midway, offering a hefty deposit up front.
됐어. 안 해. 야, 잠깐만. 아니, 왜 네 맘대로 결정해?
When Jagyong talked to herself, no one found it strange because they all knew she had a split personality. Obviously, it was her brother's persona standing before them, and Mo-young seized the chance, flattering the brother by saying this was the most advanced safe of its kind, and only Jagyong in the entire country could crack it. This would be the most challenging mission in the industry. Mo-young even tripled the reward, and the vain brother immediately accepted the task. Jagyong had no choice but to intercept as promised, and soon Mo-young came to meet her, but Mo-young betrayed her, taking the safe and then attempting to silence her, even throwing Jagyong into a reservoir. What he never imagined was that Jagyong survived, dodging bullets with her agile skills as they grazed past her ears. Yet more than her wounds, she cared about the white flower on her head, symbolizing mourning. After a quick wipe, she put the flower back in place. Then she pulled out a black cloth roll from her chest, revealing the true contents of the safe, the sample. But at that moment, Jagyong had no idea that this vial could alter human genes. Because under US restrictions, South Korea could not build nuclear weapons or intercontinental missiles. To strengthen the nation's power, some proposed creating super soldiers by changing human DNA to greatly enhance physical combat abilities. Thus, a project called Tyrant was born. This project was overseen by Director Cho, the top leader of the Security Bureau, who secretly recruited experts from around the world to ensure its success. It was supposed to be top secret, but when Tyrant made a breakthrough, a traitor leaked the news to US intelligence. The US immediately pressured Korea's intelligence service, demanding that they hand over the sample. Under international pressure, the Korean Intelligence Bureau surrounded the Tyrant facility. Director Cho, upon hearing the news, destroyed all experimental data, but unfortunately, the last sample was seized. If the US gained the Tyrant sample, they would surely use it against Korea. Naturally, Director Cho cannot allow this to happen, so he plans to retrieve the sample during transport. To protect it, the US purchased the most advanced safe from Sweden, and there was only one person in the nation who could open it, the daughter of a former top agent, Jagyong. Director Choi ordered Mo-young to approach Jagyong, commissioning her to intercept the safe. Jagyong managed to steal the safe alone, but to prevent complications, Mo-young tried to kill her. Still, she survived thanks to her agility. And because she never trusted Mo-young, Jagyong cracked the code the moment she touched the safe, taking the sample inside. She planned to return it only if Mo-young paid her properly. Her suspicion proved right, but she didn't have time to worry about the sample. Her top priority was to treat her injuries. At that moment, a taxi drove up, carrying a girl who had been taken hostage. Because of limited space, one man stepped out first to relieve himself. Just as he unzipped, a strange noise came from behind. Instinctively, he turned to check, but saw nothing. The moment he turned back, Jagyong stood silently, lowered her head, then picked up a wooden stick and snapped it in two. Meanwhile, his partner inside the car was about to harm the girl. The sudden sight shocked the partner, who rushed out, only to see his friend lying on the ground. Jagyong slipped into the taxi, and as the engine roared to life, the man finally realized what had happened. At that moment, the girl inside woke up, and Jagyong finally realized there was someone else in the car. Seeing the girl's miserable state, Jagyong's anger erupted. She spun the car around and charged at the man chasing behind. The man on the ground was still struggling to live. Seeing this scene, she walked up to him and drove the stick deep into the ground. The girl was horrified by the brutal scene and fled in terror. Calmly, Jagyong turned, saw the girl had escaped safely, and felt relieved. But noticing the man still writhing in pain, she decided to end it. Later, Jagyong found a bag of cash and a phone in the car, which she used to contact a black market doctor. Meanwhile, Mo-young delivered the safe to the Security Bureau. Since no one could open it, they didn't realize it was empty. The Bureau carefully confirmed Jagyong's death. Once assured, they took the safe, and Director Cho issued a new order. Everyone tied to Tyrant must die. But Mo-young knew Cho's cunning nature. While flattering the security bureau staff, he secretly planted a listening device. Upon learning of the purge, he signaled his men, who quickly eliminated the assassins planted by the bureau. After covering their tracks, Mo-young told his brothers to hide.
우리 잠수 타야겠다.
But not everyone grasped the gravity. One of his men, addicted to gambling, foolishly took his girlfriend to the races. This conspicuous behavior quickly attracts the attention of assassins sent by director Cho. Dealing with such small-time thugs was effortless for Lim Sang. He first killed the man's girlfriend, then hid inside the car to wait. Under torture, the man confessed Mo-young's hideout. Meanwhile, the black market doctor operated on Jagyong. But the doctor had no honor. After taking her money, he stole the vial while she was still unconscious. He wants to see what item is so important that a top assassin would risk her life to protect it. From just listening to the liquid, he realized it was extraordinary and immediately contacted intelligence.
그래 그 자격이 지금 수배 걸린 거 맞지? 뭐 아직 살아있긴 한데.
Dreaming of riches, the doctor was overjoyed. Little did he know, the security bureau also received word and they had to silence him before intelligence did. While he fantasized about fortune, what awaited him was a fatal strike. When bureau agents stormed in, Jagyong was no longer on the bed, forcing them to split up and search. The legendary top assassin turns out to be just a young girl. They relaxed their guard and mocked her. Only then did Jagyong learn her father had been killed by them. Rage consumed her and she stabbed one man down, then seized the taunting one in the chaos. She held him tight, stabbing repeatedly, and in seconds he was dead. Another man tried to attack her with a dagger, but Jagyong kicked him hard and then bit his ear. Unable to endure, he used his size to break free. The moment Jagyong hit the ground, she quickly grabbed the man's leg and pulled him down. Though she defeated him, the fight drained her strength. At that moment, another man was still struggling on the verge of death, and Jagyong picked up an axe and killed him. Afterward, she cleaned the stains off her body. But when it came to choosing clothes, her two personalities started to argue. In the end, she wore what her brother's persona chose. Such trivial matters didn't deserve her energy. Her top priority now is to take revenge on Mo-young. Just as Jagyong was about to head downstairs, she heard footsteps approaching and quickly hid. The people arriving were none other than agents from the intelligence bureau. Escaping from capture, Jagyong randomly hijacked a truck and set out on her path of revenge. Once the bureau learned that Jagyong had fled, they immediately placed her on a kill list. By now, Jagyong has already arrived at Mo-young's shop, only to find it completely empty. Looking at the photo of 3 people on the wall, Jagyong instantly guessed Mo-young's hiding place because she recognized the other 2 in the picture. So she picked 2 knives as weapons, but just as she walked out of the store, a police car pulled up at the door. It was clear the police were looking for the stolen truck, so to avoid extra trouble, Jagyong quietly slipped away. But she couldn't just keep walking forever, until she spotted a car pulling into a gas station, and she quickly followed. The driver, in a hurry to use the restroom, rushed into the gas station. Seeing this, Jagyong instantly came up with an idea and tore down a flyer from the utility pole. When the driver came back and was about to leave, he saw a flyer stuck on the rear windshield, so he rushed out of the car to tear it off. Jagyong seized the moment and slipped into the car. She drove through the night and reached one of the men's territories. At the entrance, she bought 2 bottles of soda from a vending machine, wrapped them in a towel as makeshift weapons, and knocked on the door. A Russian man opened it. Jagyong said she was here to find Hangom. Seeing it was just a girl, he told her to get lost.
현금이 있냐고.
After finishing him, Jagyong stormed straight into the warehouse, which was a black market arms hub, with Hangom as its boss. The moment he saw her, Hangom instinctively reached for his gun. Clearly, Hangom knew Jagyong's reputation. He quickly laid out the new stock on the table for her to choose. But just as Jagyong is about to take a weapon and leave, a man nearby has ill intentions, not only making frivolous remarks, but also moving behind Jagyong. Moments later, the entire warehouse was left with only Hangom still clinging to life. Under Jagyong's violent interrogation, Hangom revealed not only Mo-young's hiding place, but also that the mastermind behind the manhunt was Director Choi. Even so, Jagyong showed no mercy, killing Hangom on the spot to eliminate future threats. She then went to the location Hangom mentioned, but before acting, her brother's persona craved a cigarette. Conveniently, some youths were nearby. However, not only did Jagyong fail to get a cigarette, she was also mocked by the group of youths. Meanwhile, Lim Sang had already tracked down Mo-young's old home. After confirming someone was inside, he smoothly pulled a shotgun from his bag. The entire process was quick and precise, leaving only one survivor for interrogation. But the man insisted he didn't know Mo-young's whereabouts. At that moment, Jagyong also arrived, just brushing past Lim Sang. But after a few steps, Lim Sang felt that the person he had just passed looked a lot like Jagyong from the kill list. Jagyong in turn sensed a dangerous aura. Following his principle of better to kill by mistake than let one slip, Lim Sang was ready to draw his shotgun.
조상심 관심 없거든. 꺼져 씨발.
This leaves Lim Sang stunned. Without his glasses, he thought he had mistaken someone else. Not wanting to cause trouble, Jagyong pretends to mistake Lim Sang for a priest handing out flyers. When she sees the gruesome scene inside, Jagyong feels nothing inside. She was even relieved that Mo-young's body wasn't there, which meant she could take revenge herself. The more Lim Sang thought about it, the more familiar she seemed. He put on his glasses, zoomed in on his phone's photo, and realized he had missed a golden chance. So he waited downstairs for Jagyong to come out, but just as he was about to follow, he ran into a group of young men. These were the same ones recently humiliated by Jagyong. They had gathered reinforcements for payback. Now, being tripped by an old man, their anger boiled over, and they grabbed Lim Sang to vent their rage. With no other choice, Lim Sang had to entertain them, and soon all the youths were knocked down. But because of this delay, Jagyong had already left. By then, Mo-young had already defected to the Intelligence Bureau, which for Director Cho was nothing short of a disaster. If Mo-young testified, the US would impose military sanctions. The Intelligence Bureau, fully aware of the stakes, decided to hide Mo-young for the time being. And at this moment, Jagyong tracked down Mr. Seong from the group photo. They were old acquaintances. Without wasting words, Jagyong laid her weapons one by one on the table.
아야, 보이냐? 10년 전에 찍힌 거 아직도 날만 굳으면은 욱신욱신거려. 그거 넣어두고 얘기하자고.
But while Mr. Seong pretended to surrender, he schemed to grab a pistol hidden in a drawer under the excuse of looking for cigarettes. Jagyong had already anticipated his dishonesty and removed the bullets from the gun beforehand. Cornered, Mr. Seong could only confess. He claimed he truly didn't know and warned that Mo-young was backed by the Intelligence Bureau, not someone she could simply deal with. Suddenly, Jagyong told him to be quiet, sensing something outside.
자경아.
Calmly, she brushed the dust from her head, but the moment she opened the door, a gun was suddenly pressed against her skull. It was Lim Sang, who had followed her all along.
어쨌든 이젠 원래대로 죽어주시죠, 그만.
그래 그러자. 대신 같이 가 그럼.
Realizing what's happening, Lim Sang looks down and sees Jagyong aiming a gun at his lower body. Because of the position, Lim Sang dared not act rashly.
운 좋으면 죽는 거고 운 나쁨 평생 고자로 살아야 될걸?
정말로 제법이십니다.
글쎄 그렇다니까.
As their eyes grew sharper, a deadly clash became inevitable. After a fierce struggle, both collapsed injured. But compared to Jagyong, Lim Sang was luckier because his gun was still in hand and he prepared to finish her. Unfortunately for him, the gun had no bullets. With both unarmed, they scrambled for cover. Lim Sang ducked into a room while Jagyong grabbed her pistol and fired wildly at him. Lim Sang managed to secure a shotgun inside. In the end, both, badly hurt, had to cease fire temporarily. No matter how tough they were still human and needed to treat their wounds first. During the pause, Jagyong still pressed him for answers.
죽였냐?
아직은 아닌 것 같은데요.
Just as they were about to resume the fight, Lim Sang received a message and suddenly declared a truce. Since Mo-young had defected to the Intelligence Bureau, Lim Sang was ordered to intercept him immediately. Hearing that Mo-young had appeared, Jagyong grew serious, deciding to cooperate with Lim Sang. At this moment, the intelligence officers were transferring Mo-young, but midway they were intercepted by US forces who opened fire without hesitation. The intelligence agents tried to fight back, but one of the operatives climbed onto the vehicle. That was when their leader, Paul, appeared.
쏘지도 못하고 저리 치우고. 지금 우리가 데려갈게요.
With Paul's signal in his eyes, the man on the roof actually ripped open the car top with his bare hands, while another subordinate tore off the car door, then grabbed Mo-young by the hair and dragged him out of the vehicle. The intelligence agents dared not resist, only praying to save their own lives. At this moment, Director Cho was also trapped in the car by Paul. As soon as they met, Mo-young angrily scolded Director Cho for being ruthless, saying he had handled so many dirty matters for him, yet instead of gratitude, Cho wanted to kill him to cover things up. This is a situation Director Cho cannot accept. At this time, Jagyong and Lim Sang also arrived by following the tracker. Naturally, the last car in the convoy was responsible for blocking them, but before they could even react, Lim Sang eliminated them in just 2 moves. That forced the second-to-last car to stop and intercept. Even facing a speeding car, the man who ripped off the car door earlier walks straight forward without any fear. His skin began to turn golden. It turns out the US has already created super soldiers who can not only withstand impacts of hundreds of tons, but also remain unharmed after continuous sniper rifle shots. The US knew the power of their super soldiers, and with Tyrant being even stronger, they could not allow another nation to create their own, or else the US would no longer dominate. Crocodile 2 rammed the car straight into the field, but when he reached the vehicle, the people inside had already vanished. He quickly scanned the area, but suddenly Jagyong opened fire from the shadows, landing a headshot. Just as she looked for Lim Sang, Crocodile 2 stood up again and kicked her dozens of meters away. The intense pain leaves her no time to get up before Crocodile 2 grabs her. Enduring severe suffocation, Jagyong attacks Crocodile 2 with all her strength, but he doesn't even flinch. At that moment, her brother's persona surfaced. Jagyong stabbed Crocodile 2 repeatedly, but this only enraged him, and with one punch he sent her flying. Just as Crocodile 2 was about to deliver the killing blow, Lim Sang intervened in time. He aimed at Crocodile 2's head because he had dealt with such monsters before, and only by destroying the head could they be killed. But Jagyong suddenly felt uneasy, pulling open her collar and discovering black matter seeping into her skin. The sample on her had shattered. Lim Sang instantly knew what it was, so he raised his gun to kill Jagyong. At this moment, both of Jagyong's personalities appeared. The brother urged her to kill Lim Sang, but she rationally refused. Seeing her resist the invasion of Tyrant while staying clear-headed, Lim Sang found it incredible, so they agreed to finish Mo-young first before settling things between them. Meanwhile, Paul led his men into Director Cho's secret base, unleashing a storm of gunfire. Hearing the slaughter inside, Director Cho's face sank into despair. Since obtaining the safe, his people have been working tirelessly to crack it. But when Paul's men broke through the final defenses, Cho's subordinates stood with their heads hung low. Paul discovered the safe had been opened. He rushed over to check, only to find the sample missing. Paul was in disbelief. This was Sweden's most advanced safe, supposedly impossible to crack. Even if it was cracked, where is the sample? He suspected Director Cho, but Cho's expression showed he was just as confused. Before this, only Mo-young had handled the safe, so Director Cho turned his eyes toward him.
나 진짜 몰라. 나는 그냥 니들이 시키는 거 하라는 거 다 했다니까.
Everyone was stunned, and Paul nearly went insane. Paul believed Director Cho was refusing to hand over the sample, playing tricks on purpose.
Where the Tyrant?
Seeing Cho remain silent, Paul threatened him by executing his men. But to Cho, it meant little. In the face of national interests, sacrificing a few people is worth it, especially since he truly doesn't know. To force Cho to reveal the whereabouts of Tyrant, Paul began executing his subordinates one by one before his eyes. When it was Mo-young's turn, he suddenly remembered that Jagyong had also touched the safe. By now, Lim Sang and Jagyong had arrived in a new combat vehicle. After that, they split into two groups, with Lim Sang responsible for rescuing Director Choi and eliminating the threats, while Jagyong went to find Mo-young. At that moment, she ran into another super soldier. Normal bullets couldn't harm him at all, and his strength was terrifying. Before Jagyong could react, Crocodile 1 hurled her away. That strike awakened the tyrant inside her. Crocodile 1 followed up with a lethal attack. As Jagyong's eyes turn completely black, Tyrant fully integrates into her body. An intense battle erupted. Two superhuman warriors clashing with pure brute force, testing only who could endure more. Lim Sang is faster and has already emerged victorious.
조금 늦으셨습니다. 제가 발이 좀...
야, 우리 사이에 뭐 피곤하게 이렇게까지 하냐?
쉬워 이거. 쏘지도 못할 거.
But Paul was not afraid, since as a U.S. intelligence officer, any harm to either of them would trigger conflict between nations. Director Cho sneered, merely patting Paul's shoulder. At that moment, Lim Sang turned and shot the fleeing Mo-young. Jagyong then crashed in through the wall, black matter spreading across her hands. Director Cho froze, finally seeing the new human that had come from the research. Then came the ultimate showdown between Jagyong and Crocodile 1. Seeing Jagyong's power, Choe signaled his men to test if Tyrant's weakness remained. Crocodile 1 was terrifying, surviving even with steel rods through his neck. When he slashed Jagyong's shoulder, she didn't fall. Instead, the black matter inside her began consuming him, proving Tyrant was stronger. As Crocodile 1 faltered, Jagyong launched a vicious kick, sending him flying, then closed in with another strike. Crocodile 1 was clearly weakening. Jagyong slammed him into a wall, then drove her blade through him, pinning him to a stone pillar and ending the brutal fight. At last, Jagyong finished Mo-young with her own hands. But just as she thought it was over, Lim Sang suddenly shot her.
어찌?
Yet for the current Jagyong, it caused little harm, though Tyrant had unmatched power.
조명 올려!
Its greatest weakness was fear of strong light. Under the glare of the floodlights, Jagyong's body began to heat up and emit smoke, as if it were about to burst into flames in the next second. Lim Sang rushed in for a sneak attack, uncertain of Tyrant's true limits.
주의 때는 종종 뇌까지 잡아먹히고 결국엔 그 유전자 주인들처럼 돼버리는데 그럼 큰일 나거든요. 그래서 미리 제거해야 합니다.
But unexpectedly, Tyrant protected its host. Jagyong seized the chance, counterattacked, and flung Lim Sang away. She then grabbed a pistol from the ground and shot out all the lights. As darkness returned, the burning sensation in her body disappeared. Facing her terrifying presence, Director Cho showed no fear.
웃어? 너네 다 죽고 싶냐?
진짜?
에이씨. 너네 좀 가만히 있어봐.
Unexpectedly, another personality emerges in Jagyong. But Director Cho tells her there is no time left because dawn is approaching, and he urges Jagyong to leave quickly.
아주 어두운 곳을 찾아. 한낮에는 많이 힘들 테니까 해는 절대 피하도록 하고. 그들이 널 찾을 거야. 지금부터는 국가 재산이니까 명심해.
Hearing footsteps outside, Jagyong had no choice but to retreat. At this moment, the traitor director Saw from the intelligence bureau barged in together with his team. Realizing the danger, Lim Sang tried to flee, but under heavy fire he was struck multiple times, crashing through glass and plummeting off a cliff into the sea. Even then, bullets rained down. Refusing to be captured, Director Cho chose to end his own life.
이번엔 니들 아무것도 못 가져가. 폭군은 우리 거야. 잊어.
Thus, Season 1 of The Tyrant concludes. Let us look forward to Season 2 together.